that these symbols meant something good in the past, and all these bad guys use it for something bad, and so he wants to rectify, he wants to bring life back to him. So now he's using these Luciferian and Masonic symbols for that purpose. That was his explanation.
And it's so typical. It's so typical.
I think there's no need for symbols. I mean, I think there's,
but let's say you do.
A logo, you can do a design. Even on his art, because he has art on his webpage, it's very Masonic. I mean, you'll catch the Eye of Providence, you'll catch pyramids, you'll catch everything.
Hey guys, Cullen Smith here. Welcome back to Lifting the Veil. All right, so let's crack it on open here, boy. And it's pretty well commonly known due to the prominence and the weight of Schwaller de Lubitz's work on Egyptology, and especially in the realm of symbolism and linguistics and ancient mathematics, is literally probably second to none. It's just some of the most superb quality information that you will ever find anywhere. And so he had originally made the symbolic connection of the Egyptian scarabaeus to the actual human anatomy of the human skull, where the frontal lobes are the entire sutural structure of the human cranium is exactly identical to the scarabaeus. And this is, again, it's homologous morphology throughout biology, throughout all of nature. And so we share the frontal lobe with the same segments of the scarab's back, of the scarab carapace, the exoskeleton, as well as the parietal lobes being the wings of the scarab, and as well as the occipital lobe, even included directly there at the very back, at the very bottom of the Egyptian marriage scarab. And the sutures are all there as well. The coronal suture is that notable suture that separates the three segments of the human skull from the main three segments, the Trinity, which creates that Tau cross, the letter T there, which is the way, the truth, and the life. The Tau cross, I am the way, I am the Tao, the Tao. The Tao is the way, so the truth, the way, the light. At the crown of the skull is literally the opening of spreading of your wings, the opening of your psychic crown, and spreading your psychic wings and taking flight into the cosmos. Which is what the scarabaeus represents. And I'm not going to cover too much about the scarab, because again, that's a whole other film and presentation that we will be getting into just on all of this science alone. It's so profoundly vast and so incredibly insightful. But so I had also, since that was well known, I had also eventually noticed through my research, I noticed that there was this particular drawing, this anatomical diagram of the human diencephalon. Really, like, I immediately noticed there with the bands of myelinated axons on each of the thalami, the thalamic nucleus, that really tipped. I was like, that looks exactly like the frickin' scarab, and so that reminded me of Schwaller's work, and so I had immediately, made the connection. I was like, oh my God, that's the Egyptian marriage scarab also. So there's literally two. The Egyptian marriage scarab represents rebirth, renewal, resurrection, creation, and coming into being. It's literally everything that the marriage, the sacred union, the sacred hydros gamos, the holy marriage, the holy matrimony is all about. So it's depicting the union of opposites, the resurrection, the coming into being, and the creation through the sexual communion by the marriage of the two aspects of the diencephalon, of the two thalamic nuclei, which literally are married together as one, where at the top of the most pinnacle, the most high of the holy mountain, the most high of Jacob's ladder, at the very top of your spinal column is where the sacred marriage takes place, on top of the mountain, with garlands of fresh herbs,
and there's going to be flutes playing and trombones and flowers and garlands of fresh herbs.
And so that's where the sacred marriage takes place, is at the top of the mountain. And so that's what the marriage scarab is here representing, literally. But then the entire diencephalon itself also represents the scarabaeus, literally as the connection here of the two thalamic nuclei, each representing the spread wings taking flight of the scarabaeus. Just as we see here. This isn't actually a human brain. I think it might be like a mouse brain. No, it's probably too big. I think it was a sheep brain. I forget exactly where I sourced it from, but it's exactly identical to, again, the Egyptians' correlation and correspondence to the Egyptian scarabaeus. This is actually someone's tattoo right on the back of their head, and it's literally located right at the location where the thalamus is, if you were looking x-ray through the back of the head. So I thought that was incredibly, and I was like, oh my god, if only this person knows how, if only this person knew what I know and what I'm going to be showing here, and especially in the full presentation once it really drops. But so this is another ancient Egyptian hieroglyph of the scarabaeus with the spread wings taking flight. So but the spread wings are exactly representative of the coronal sections of the coronal spread of the neocortex. And so again, you have the exact correspondence, the exact anatomical homologous representation of the thalamus lying at the very center, just beneath the corpus callosum, at the very center of the spread wings, just exactly where the thalamic nuclei resides. And so another interesting thing is that if you flip the scarabaeus upside down, like for example, like in this image here where the brain is actually flipped upside down, this is the cerebellum of the brain. And again, this isn't a human brain here, so it's not exactly identical, but with the same concept, if you flip the scarabaeus upside down to where this part, it directly corresponds with the cerebellum. So you have the two hemispheres of the brain at large, the two hemispheres, with the cerebellum lying at the back of the brain just underneath it. So if you take this image here and you flip the scarabaeus upside down to match this one here, if you flip it upside down, you have the cerebellum being corresponding to the thorax of the scarabaeus, and then you have the wings the two main segments of the wings corresponding to the two hemispheres of the brain. So it goes so much deeper, and there's so much more to add into here, but I'm just skimming and just briefly covering this, and we will go so much deeper in the future Symbols of Power film series and just in this presentation alone. But again, it's absolutely astounding. It's absolutely stunning and just completely mind-blowing, especially when I tie in all the other whole story that this tells. Everything about the Christ, about Osiris, about the resurrection, about the death and rebirth, and the path of the sun and the correspondence in astrotheology too. There's so much more to it, especially how it relates to my ex-partner's Christie's experience in the hospital with brain metastatic with breast cancer metastases to her brain, and they wanted to put her on the anti-seizure drug called Keppra, so I will get so much deeper into that symbolism. I wanted to make a specific video just about it, including all of this, because it's all my research that I've already done. But they have an antispasmodic pharmaceutical drug called Keppra that basically it completely screws up your mental and emotional abilities, and supposed to prevent seizures, but it actually may likely even induce seizures, and it's actually, it causes severe depression and anger and mood swings, and it's just a very, very bad drug. And it's directly related to their symbolism of Keppra, of the Egyptian scarabaeus, the scarab-headed god. We'll get so much deeper into that in future presentations.
And so it's important for us to recognize, for the initiate to realize that when we're observing waves, whether transverse or longitudinal or otherwise, what we're seeing are not actually two-dimensional forms. What we're looking at is actually a two-dimensional orthogonal projection of a three-dimensional form, meaning that is actually all these waves are actually spherical in nature. There are no flat or straight line waves. Everything is spherical in nature. And this goes back to the initial cosmology of Walter Russell, of the cubic spheres of space, but we're not going to get into that in this video whatsoever. We can't. We don't have the depth or the time for that. But so what this means in layman's terms is that in a two-dimensional orthogonal projection of a three-dimensional form means that it's basically projecting a shadow two-dimensionally onto a surface. So what we're seeing again is basically it's only a cross-sectional image of a three-dimensional form, because obviously all forms in space are three-dimensional.
Orthographic projection is going to really help us see shapes that aren't there, and also it's going to help us detail our measurements in a way that's a lot more legible than if we were just to do it off here, which I will teach you that. I haven't yet. So the first thing that we're going to be doing for this assignment is pretty straightforward, is you've got a top, front, and right side. Okay, so the top thing, if you're looking straight down on your object. Front, if you're looking at kind of over here from the left. The right, if you're looking over here from the right side.
And so we're seeing just a cross section, a cross image scan of the human brain. And so this is it's a two-dimensional projection of a three-dimensional shape. And so that's what we mean by an orthographic projection, an orthogonal projection of a three-dimensional form, which is the three-dimensional form comes from Lissajous curves. And so this...
All right, guys, I'm terribly sorry, but that we are out of time. That's all the time that we have for this segment of the film. So we will split this up and continue it in the next video. So click the link in the description below, or the box at the top of the corner at the end of this video to click on into the next segment of this video portion. But I've had to limit it to, by popular request, to specifically time limits. So yeah, thank you. That's literally what... so that's what it all means. That's what it all comes from. And I'm sorry I didn't want to make this too long. I wanted to make this a short video, but like as always, you cannot scathe the surface of this stuff. And as always, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch my videos. If you enjoy this information, please share it around with anyone who you think might also appreciate the information. It's my greatest passion, and my purpose and my mission is to continue to produce genuinely inspired and meaningful, uplifting content, intellectual pieces of art. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of just how much info is ready and waiting to be produced. I can't even keep up with the amount of output, let alone the amount of writing that is coming through. We haven't even gotten started yet. We are just warming up. And so we just need to take care of this business, guys. If I can meet my second minimum goal, I will never have to ask or beg for funding ever again. So I want to get to that point where I never have to ask you ever again, because I hate doing it, honestly. I really do. So I hope I never have to ask again by reaching these minimum goals. Because as it stands right now, I am not able to do this full time. I simply am not making enough to pay off the amount of effort that goes into these. So I can't practically do it right now. So we have to meet these minimum goals. Otherwise, I can't do this. Please help me continue in this mission. And check out the merch in the links below. Help support my channel that way, or support my channel on patreon.com/liftingtheveil. Links in the description below. And I will see you guys in the next video. So there is so much more content coming up. First in the lineup is this 6-hour film that I'm going to divide up about the New World Order agenda and the truth about veganism. It will be a part 2 of my other viral film that went out, so the truth about veganism. So stay tuned for that next. It's almost finished. I'm just polishing up. I want to make sure I cover all the details, so it's very in-depth, and that way there's no confusion to leave you hanging. So look for that next.